There are two kinds of love in this world. The kind that asks. And the kind that gives. Eleanor Hargrove belonged to the second kind. At 72, she moved with quiet purpose. Not fast, but steady. The kind of woman who labeled photo albums and sent handwritten thank you notes in an age of emojis. 15 years earlier, she had buried her husband, Arthur. One moment he was joking over breakfast. The next, he was gone. But Arthur had left her secure. The Victorian home in Surrey. The careful investments. The life they planned. Take care of Thomas, Arthur had always said. Thomas, her only child. Her miracle baby. The center of everything. After Arthur's death, Eleanor poured herself into her son. Sunday roasts. Laundry folded neatly. Emergency money when rent came up short. So when Thomas married Sophia Romano, Eleanor felt hopeful. Sophia was bright, expressive, from a big Italian family that laughed loudly and loved openly. At first, Eleanor admired that warmth. Then Sophia announced the pregnancy. Eleanor cried, not politely, not quietly. A grandchild, she whispered. I've been waiting for this. That night, she opened a bottle of champagne Arthur had saved for something special. From that moment, Eleanor decided her granddaughter would have everything. She paid for private prenatal care. Private scans. Private consultations. A doula. 5,000 euros transferred in days. Thomas tried to protest. Mum, it's too much. Eleanor smiled. Arthur worked for this. Let me enjoy spending it. Then came the furniture. A handcrafted crib. Organic bedding. A velvet chair. A 2,500 euro stroller she researched for weeks. She visited their small flat and frowned. You'll need space. Sophia laughed. We'll manage. Eleanor didn't believe in managing. She believed in improving. Contractors arrived. The spare room became a nursery, pastel walls, soft lighting, painted animals. When it was finished, Sophia cried. It's perfect. Eleanor glowed. Then she opened a joint savings account. Primary holder, Eleanor. Beneficiary, the baby. Initial deposit, 10,000 euros. And every month after Isabella was born. 700 euros transferred like clockwork. University fund, Eleanor said proudly. Thomas hugged her. You're incredible, Mum. And she believed him. Isabella was born on a rainy March morning. Dark hair. Wide eyes. Eleanor drove through empty streets to the hospital. She held Isabella before anyone else outside the parents. I will always protect you, she whispered. The first months felt magical. Weekly visits. Tiny outfits. Homemade purees. Lullabies in 2 languages. Sophia's family visited often and loud dinners, shared memories Eleanor didn't belong to. But she told herself that didn't matter. She was the grandmother. That was enough. Right? One evening, she asked, have you chosen a date for the christening? Yes, Sophia said. Next month. We're keeping it very small, Thomas added. Just godparents and immediate family. Immediate family. That included her. Obviously. The invitation never came, but Eleanor assumed it was modern informality. She bought a pale blue dress. Ordered a silver christening spoon engraved. With love, Grandma Eleanor. The day arrived. Sunny. Warm. No message. No address. No call. At noon, Thomas replied. We kept it intimate. Didn't want to tire you. You're busy. Busy? Her hands began to shake. She opened Facebook. The album appeared. Sparkles Isabella's Special Day Sparkles. Professional photos. The church glowing. Sophia's parents. Sophia's siblings. Her grandmother flown in from Milan. 18 people. Eleanor counted them. Not one photo included her. The nursery she paid for shone in the background. The cake she unknowingly funded sat on the table. But she was missing. Erased. She stared at the screen, her throat tight. Not invited. Not included. Not even mentioned. That evening, she removed the silver spoon from its box. With love, Grandma Eleanor. She laughed once, a small, broken sound. Then she opened her banking app. 10,000 euros. The monthly €700 transfer. Her finger hovered over the screen. Not in anger. In clarity. She had mistaken generosity for belonging. And those are not the same thing. Outside, her roses were in bloom. Inside, something colder began to grow. And Eleanor Hargrove, who had always been the pillar, was about to learn what happens when the pillar steps away. The next morning, Eleanor did not cry. She did not scream. She did not call her friends to complain. Instead, she became calm. The kind of calm that forms when heartbreak hardens into clarity. She folded the pale blue dress, placed the silver spoon back in its box, and drove to Thomas and Sophia's apartment without calling first. It was 9:12 a.m. The city was just waking. Thomas opened the door, startled. "Mum? What are you doing here?" Eleanor stepped inside. "I believe we need to talk." Sophia stood in the kitchen in her pajamas, Isabella on her hip. Balloons sagged from a chair. The remains of yesterday's celebration still cluttered the room. Eleanor noticed everything. They sat. "I saw the photographs," Eleanor said. Silence. "We wanted to explain," Sophia began. "I asked what time to arrive," Eleanor replied. "You did not answer." Thomas shifted. "We didn't want to overwhelm you." "Overwhelm me?" Eleanor repeated. There were 18 people. "It was immediate family," Sophia said. "Immediate family," Eleanor echoed. Thomas rubbed his temples. "Sophia's family is large. It's cultural." "And I am what?" "You're one person," Sophia said. The words landed heavily. "I am Thomas's mother." "Yes," Sophia replied, "but we had to draw the line somewhere." Eleanor nodded slowly. "So you drew it just outside me." Thomas stood and paced. "Why are you making this into something it isn't?" "It was just a ceremony. It was my granddaughter's christening. And it was our decision," Sophia snapped. Eleanor studied her. "Did you ever intend to invite me?" Sophia hesitated. "We thought about it," Thomas said. That honesty hurt more than a lie. Eleanor stood. "I have given you more than 30,000 euros in the last year." "We never asked you to," Thomas said. "No. But you accepted it." Sophia crossed her arms. "You like controlling things." "Controlling?" "You chose the clinic. The nursery. The furniture. It was always your way. For the baby." "For yourself," Sophia corrected. Eleanor looked at her son. "Do you believe that?" He hesitated. "I think sometimes you use money to insert yourself." The words cut deeply. "I inserted myself because you welcomed it," Eleanor said. "Until you no longer needed me." Sophia lifted Isabella and turned away. Thomas lowered his voice. "You're overreacting." "No," Eleanor replied. "I am reacting. We can't revolve our lives around you." Eleanor stepped toward the door. "I will not revolve around you anymore." She left. That afternoon, she opened her laptop and reviewed every transfer. Prenatal care. Renovations. Furniture. Monthly deposits. Total in 18 months, €36,842. To her, it had been love. To them, it had been leverage. That night, Thomas called. "We're sorry things got heated." "I am not angry," Eleanor said. "I am making adjustments." "What does that mean?" "Isabella's future will remain secure. Just not in the way you expect." Silence. "You're not punishing a baby, are you?" "I am protecting myself." She ended the call. The next morning, she froze the joint savings account. She canceled the monthly transfer. Her hand did not shake. By afternoon, Thomas was at her door, pounding. "What have you done?" "I have restructured my finances." "That money is for Isabella." It was. Sophia arrived moments later, furious. "You're cutting off your granddaughter." "I am removing myself from a dynamic where I am valued only for funding." Thomas glared. "Fine. You want space? You'll have it." As they left, Eleanor noticed Thomas holding his phone low, the camera lens facing her. Recording. That night, she thought about the phone. Not the argument. 3 days later, an email arrived. Subject: "We're worried. We're concerned about your emotional state. You seemed confused and aggressive. We just want to make sure you're okay." Confused. Aggressive. The story was being rewritten. They were not reacting emotionally. They were preparing strategically. That evening, Eleanor stood in her garden, watering her roses. Arthur's words returned to her. "Never assume kindness means weakness." She set the watering can down. The generosity phase of her life was over. And something far more formidable had begun. It arrived on a Tuesday morning. Cream envelope. Official seal. Hand-delivered. Eleanor knew something was wrong before she opened it. Legal paper has weight. A stiffness. A coldness. She sat at the same dining table where she once signed Thomas's school forms and opened the letter. Her eyes fixed on the header. Petition for assessment of mental capacity. For a moment, the room went silent. Concerns regarding cognitive decline. Episodes of confusion. Erratic financial decisions. For the protection of minor child Isabella. Protection. From her. The petition was filed by Thomas Hargrove and Sophia Romano Hargrove. Her son. Her daughter-in-law. They were asking the court to declare her legally incompetent to manage her finances. If granted, control of her assets would be assigned to a guardian. Her breathing remained steady. But something inside her turned to stone. She flipped to the attachments. Exhibit A, video transcript. Exhibit B, behavioral observations. Exhibit C, statements from concerned family members. The transcript showed Thomas asking, "Mom, what's today's date?" Her reply, "Tuesday? Or is it Wednesday?" The transcript ended there. It did not include her laughing and correcting herself moments later. Another transcript. "Sophia, are you sure it's wise to transfer money again?" "Eleanor, it's my money." Annotation, subject displays agitation and paranoia. Paranoia. She had simply defended herself. The final statements were from Sophia's parents. "She seems forgetful. She isolates herself." People who had barely known her were now testifying about her mind. Hearing scheduled in 6 weeks. Her son had not warned her. This was not emotional. This was strategic. The recordings. The oddly phrased questions. The emails saying they were worried. It had all been groundwork. She did not call them. She called a solicitor. By noon, she sat across from Mr. David Jenkins, an estate litigator with decades of experience. "This is not casual," he said after reading the petition. "They are alleging impairment. I am not impaired. I can see that. And these recordings were without your consent?" Yes. That helps. This is financial, Eleanor said. He nodded. Then we prepare. Within the week, Eleanor underwent a full cognitive evaluation. Neurological testing. Memory assessments. Psychological screening. You are cognitively above average for your age, the specialist concluded. No impairment. But Jenkins cautioned her. They will frame your financial choices as instability. Changing my will is not dementia. No. But they will try to sell emotion as evidence. This was not about her health. It was about control of her estate. If declared incompetent, her revised will could be voided. The accounts reinstated. And guardianship slowly assumed. 3 days later, Thomas called. We didn't want you to find out like this. You filed it, Eleanor replied calmly. We're worried about you. You're worried about my money. Silence. You froze Isabella's account. I adjusted my finances. You rewrote your will. There it was. My estate planning is not evidence of decline, Eleanor said. You're being manipulated by that lawyer, Thomas snapped. No, she replied. You're threatened by him. You're destroying this family. You already tried. She ended the call. That evening, a text arrived from Sophia. You're embarrassing us. Not hurting. Not concerning. Embarrassing. It was about image. 2 weeks before the hearing, Thomas arrived holding Isabella. Maybe we can settle this privately, he said. Withdraw the petition? Eleanor asked. If you restore the account. Transaction. She looked at her son. You tried to erase my autonomy. I was protecting Isabella. From what? My unpredictability began when I stopped funding you, Eleanor said. Isabella reached for her. The child was innocent. The adults were not. As Thomas walked away, his phone was angled toward her again. Recording. Building a case. But so was she now. Because her solicitor had been clear. Document everything. Every message. Every visit. Every word. 6 weeks remained before a judge would decide whether Eleanor Hargrove could manage her own life. 6 weeks before strategy and truth would collide. And for the first time since the betrayal began, Eleanor felt something unexpected. Not fear. Resolve. Because betrayal is painful. But underestimation is fatal. The hearing was set for 9:30 a.m. on a gray October morning. Eleanor arrived at 8:45. Not from nerves. From habit. Punctuality, to her, was dignity. She wore navy. Not soft blue. Not grandmotherly beige. Structured. Composed. In her leather folder were medical reports, financial records, and printed messages from Thomas and Sophia. Across the hall, Thomas and Sophia sat beside their lawyer. Sophia avoided Eleanor's eyes. Thomas didn't. He looked at her like an opponent before a match. The courtroom doors opened. This was not a dramatic criminal trial. It was civil. Quiet. Procedural. But the stakes were enormous. If Thomas won, Eleanor would lose control of her finances. Her will could be reviewed. Her accounts reassigned. Her autonomy reduced. Judge Henderson entered. The petition was summarized. Thomas's lawyer stood. This is about protecting a vulnerable elderly woman. Vulnerable. The word landed cold. There are documented episodes of confusion, agitation, and irrational financial behavior. Video evidence was presented. A screen lowered. First clip. Mum, what day is it? Oh. I think it's Wednesday. It's Monday, Mum. Cut. Whispers moved through the room. Second clip. Are you sure freezing the baby's account is wise? It's my money. Stop questioning me. Cut. Third clip. Eleanor speaking emotionally about Arthur. Caption, displays disorientation. Thomas's lawyer nodded. A pattern of decline. Judge Henderson turned to Eleanor. Do you wish to respond? Mr. Jenkins stood. Yes, Your Honor. We request the full recordings be played. The first video replayed, unedited. Oh goodness. I think it's Wednesday, no, it's Monday. I keep mixing it up with garden club tomorrow. She laughed. Thomas laughed with her. The earlier cut became obvious. The second video replayed. It's my money. Stop questioning me. I've created a trust. Isabella will receive it at 18. That line had been removed. The third clip replayed. Eleanor recalled dates, details, and financial facts with precision. Jenkins spoke calmly. These recordings were edited. A forensic analyst took the stand. There is clear evidence of deliberate splicing and removal of context. Judge Henderson leaned forward. Are you stating these were manipulated? Yes, Your Honor. Thomas's lawyer objected. These were family videos. The edits were intentional, the analyst replied. They isolate statements to change meaning. The room fell silent. Judge Henderson turned to Thomas. Were you aware the recordings were edited? He hesitated. Yes, but we were highlighting concerns. By removing context, the judge asked. No answer. Sophia blurted out, she changed her will. She froze the account. The judge replied evenly. Changing a will is not evidence of incompetence. Jenkins added, setting boundaries is not punishment. Thomas muttered, this isn't about money. The judge raised an eyebrow. Then why mention the will? Silence. The court recessed briefly. In the hallway, Thomas approached Eleanor. You didn't have to humiliate us. You did that yourselves, she replied. You've turned this into war. You tried to erase me legally, Eleanor said. You started it. When the hearing resumed, Judge Henderson spoke clearly. This court finds no evidence of cognitive impairment. Thomas closed his eyes. Furthermore, the submission of edited evidence raises serious concerns. She paused. This matter will be referred for review. Review meant investigation. The petition was denied. Then the judge added quietly. This court takes elder exploitation seriously. The word shifted everything. Outside, rain fell. Reporters gathered. Someone had leaked the case. Cameras turned toward Thomas and Sophia. Eleanor stood at the courthouse steps. She could disappear into the crowd. Or stand firm. She chose firm. Because once, she had been erased. This time, she would not be. And what she said next would change everything. Gray skies. Cold wind. Cameras waiting. Eleanor had never sought attention. But attention had found her. As the courtroom doors opened, reporters surged forward. Mrs. Hargrove. Is it true your son tried to have you declared incompetent? Do you believe this was financially motivated? Are you pressing charges? Thomas froze at the top of the steps. Sophia's face went pale. They had expected a quiet legal proceeding. They had not expected headlines. Someone had tipped off the press. A clerk. A legal assistant. Or just the irresistible scent of scandal. Because stories like this spread fast. Wealthy grandmother. Grandchild. Inheritance. Allegations of manipulation. Eleanor felt Mr. Jenkins at her side. You don't have to say anything, he murmured. But she looked at the cameras. And for the first time since the christening. She felt visible. Not erased. Not dismissed. Visible. She stepped forward. I love my granddaughter, she said, voice steady. And I have always acted in her best interest. Flashbulbs flickered. I was deeply hurt by recent events. But this matter was not about love. It was about control. Gasps. Pen scribbling. I am grateful the court saw the full truth. Then she walked calmly to her car. She did not look back. Within hours, the story was online. Local news first. Shared on social media next. Then national outlets. Headlines varied. Grandmother fights back against incompetency claim. Family rift turns legal after inheritance dispute. Edited videos exposed an elder capacity case. But one dominated. Christening snub leads to courtroom showdown. Comment sections exploded. Thousands. Then tens of thousands. How dare they? She funded everything. This is elder abuse. Classic inheritance grab. Christening photos were reposted. Side by side with courtroom sketches. Users circled her absence in red. The narrative was simple. Too simple, perhaps. But it was powerful. Ungrateful children. Generous grandmother. Betrayal. By evening, the story was trending. A legal analyst posted a breakdown video. 2 million views in 12 hours. TikTok creators reenacted the courtroom moment when the edits were exposed. Twitter threads dissected inheritance law. Reddit threads titled, "Grandmother funds everything, gets excluded." Hundreds of thousands of upvotes. Thomas's name circulated. So did Sophia's. Their social media accounts went private. Screenshots, however, lived forever. The fallout was immediate. Sophia, in marketing, faced internal memos from her company. Clients began asking questions. One major account paused its contract. Thomas, in property development, received 3 urgent calls before noon. 2 investors postponed meetings. One bluntly said, "This isn't good optics." Optics. Reputation. Image. Everything they had tried to protect, unraveling. That night, Thomas called. Not angry. Desperate. "Mum, please make a statement." "I already did," she replied calmly. "No, something else." "Say it was a misunderstanding." "It wasn't." "You're letting strangers destroy us." "I didn't invite them." Sophia took the phone. "You could stop this." "How?" Eleanor asked evenly. "Restore the account. Show we're united." United. The word sounded hollow. "You tried to legally declare me incompetent." "We panicked." "You strategized." Silence. Then Sophia said something telling. "You're ruining Isabella's future." Eleanor closed her eyes briefly. "No," she said quietly. "You did that the day you treated me as disposable." She ended the call. But Thomas and Sophia weren't done. 3 days later, a new article appeared. Quoted an anonymous family source. Subtle. Careful. Strategic. It suggested Eleanor was increasingly isolated and emotionally volatile. Public sympathy wavered slightly. Commenters debated. Maybe there's more to the story. She did cut them off financially. It's still suspicious. Mr. Jenkins called immediately. "This is narrative warfare," he said. "They're planting doubt." Eleanor exhaled slowly. "Can they do that legally?" "They can speak to press. But false statements crossing into defamation is different." She thought carefully. Thomas wouldn't lie outright. He would imply. Suggest. Frame. Just enough to muddy waters. But he underestimated something again. The internet remembers. Investigative journalists love inconsistencies. Within 48 hours, a deeper piece emerged. Timeline of financial transfers. Confirmation of edited video evidence. Expert commentary on elder exploitation trends. The tone shifted back. Sharper. Stronger. Now, it wasn't a family misunderstanding. It was attempted financial control. Then something unexpected. Arthur's distant nephew, the one in her revised will, reached out. I saw the news, he said gently. I don't want drama. But you're not alone. Sincerity. Rare, but welcome. Meanwhile, inside Thomas and Sophia's home, pressure mounted. Sophia's parents were furious. This is humiliating, her mother reportedly said. Thomas blamed Sophia. Sophia blamed Thomas. Arguments escalated. And then, they made a risky decision. If public opinion couldn't be controlled, it could be redirected. A week later, a formal complaint was filed. Not about mental incompetence, but undue influence. The claim alleged Eleanor's solicitor had manipulated her into rewriting her will. That Mr. Jenkins had exploited emotional vulnerability. A bold move. If they couldn't discredit her mind, they would discredit her advisor. Mr. Jenkins read the filing calmly. They're escalating because they're cornered. Will it work? Eleanor asked. He smiled faintly. No. But his voice carried steel. This was no longer just family drama. This was legal combat. And Thomas and Sophia had crossed into dangerous territory. False allegations against a solicitor carry serious consequences. That evening, Eleanor sat alone in her living room. The house was quiet. Too quiet. She missed Isabella. The weight of her in her arms. The scent of baby shampoo. This war had a cost. Distance. But surrender would cost more. She opened her laptop. Scrolled through comments. Strangers defending her. Sharing stories of family betrayal. Thanking her for standing up. She had not intended to become a symbol. But perhaps that was the final twist. The woman erased from a christening photo now stood at the center of a national conversation. And Thomas and Sophia? They had one final card left to play. But it would be their most reckless move yet. The night was quiet. Eleanor sat by the fireplace, notebook open, documenting every call, message, and email. Every interaction counted now. She had learned underestimation is dangerous. 3 days after the undue influence complaint, Eleanor received a court summons. Mr. Jenkins read it calmly. They're escalating, he said. Manipulation. Audacious. They're cornered, Eleanor replied. Desperation leads to mistakes. Thomas called that morning. Mum, can we resolve this? I am resolving it, she said calmly. By standing firm. Social media buzzed. The story had gone national. Hashtags trended, hashtag grandmother rights, hashtag christening snub. Public opinion sided with Eleanor. But she noticed patterns. Thomas's messages carefully phrased to provoke guilt. Visits designed to unsettle. Surveillance intended to intimidate. She cataloged it all. Every photo. Every timestamp. Evidence, not leverage. That weekend, she met friends for tea. Support. Clarity. Observation. Patience. A package arrived. A tablet. Surveillance footage of her own movements. Eleanor studied it. Not fear. Calculation. Then Thomas appeared, unannounced, holding Isabella. Mum, we need to talk. Yes, she said. At my solicitor's office. Neutral ground. Transparency. They met at Jenkins' office. Thomas and Sophia pleaded concern for Isabella. Eleanor remained calm. You tried to erase me legally, she said. That is not protection. That is control. Arguments flared, but Eleanor maintained composure. Setting boundaries is not punishment. Later, alone, she reviewed the tablet. Threats, edited clips, intimidation, every move recorded. Patience and precision were her weapons. She drafted a letter to the court. Your Honor, additional evidence shows edited videos and intimidation attempts. Request these be considered before judgment on undue influence claims. Thomas called. What are you doing? Protecting myself and Isabella, Eleanor said. Sophia, you could stop this. How? By pretending compliance erases intent? Eleanor replied. Court acknowledged receipt. Preliminary review began. Procedural misconduct noted. Investigation ordered. The reckless move by Thomas and Sophia had backfired. Instead of discrediting Eleanor, it exposed them. Eleanor sat quietly, pen poised. Every move accounted for. Every detail recorded. The game had changed. Isabella slept peacefully in her arms. Innocence and hope contrasted with adult desperation. The next 6 weeks before the hearing would be decisive, and Eleanor was ready. The house no longer felt like a home. Silence had settled like an unwelcome guest, filling hallways, the dining table, even the nursery where baby Elijah slept. That Sunday afternoon, Lena rocked him gently, sunlight filtering through the winter window. His tiny fingers curled around hers. He didn't know pride, betrayal, or manipulation. He only knew love. And Lena realized, love was exactly what this family lacked. Marcus came home early that evening, exhausted, not physically, but emotionally. Can we talk? He asked quietly. Lena finished placing Elijah in his crib, adjusted the blanket, kissed his forehead, then turned to face him. Yes, she said. They sat at the kitchen table, once filled with laughter and baby-name debates, now tense with unspoken blame. I spoke to my mother today, Marcus began. And? She thinks you're overreacting. Of course she does, Lena said, voice steady. She announced a christening I never agreed to, made it public, and framed me as unreasonable when I objected. Marcus listened. For once, he didn't interrupt. She didn't ask me, Lena continued. She doesn't respect me as Elijah's mother. She believes she can override my decisions. Marcus exhaled slowly. She's my mother. And I'm his mother, Lena corrected, the weight of the words heavy. That night, Marcus lay awake. Memories of his mother braided through his mind, school mornings, graduations, weddings, always there. But Lena had stayed up through colic nights, sacrificed her job, built a life with him. Love and presence were not the same. The next morning, Marcus drove to his mother's house. Dorothy welcomed him with a warm smile. There's my son. We need to talk, he said, unflinching. They sat in the living room, the same room where she had announced Elijah's christening with pride. Marcus spoke clearly. You can't plan anything for Elijah without Lena's permission. Dorothy's face hardened. I'm his grandmother. And Lena is his mother, he replied calmly. She decides for her child. Dorothy blinked. She's turning you against me. No. I'm making my own decision. Marcus explained, what had felt like control wasn't about faith or tradition, it was about overstepping boundaries. Silence fell. For the first time, Dorothy had no immediate comeback. I love you, Mom. But you don't make decisions for my family, Marcus said, standing. Until you can respect Lena, we need space, he added, walking toward the door. Back home, Lena was folding laundry. Marcus returned slowly, not needing to recount details. I told her we need space, he said. Lena paused. Relief, not triumph, warmed her chest. She didn't take it well, Marcus admitted. She never does. But honesty had cracked the tension. Lena stepped into his arms. They held each other, not perfectly healed, but united. Weeks passed. The christening never happened. Dorothy didn't call or visit. And in that silence, something grew, peace. Lena and Marcus spoke again, really speaking about faith, parenting, and boundaries. They decided Elijah would learn about beliefs as he grew and choose for himself. Respect, not control, guided the decision. One afternoon, Lena watched Marcus make silly faces. Elijah laughed uncontrollably. The sound, pure, unfiltered, filled the house. This was what mattered: love, choice, unity. Then the phone rang. Lena glanced at the screen. Dorothy. Marcus answered calmly. "Hi, Mom." There was a pause. Then Dorothy's softer voice, "I'd like to see my grandson." "Are you ready to respect Lena?" Marcus asked. "Yes," she replied quietly. The following Sunday, Dorothy visited. No announcements. No plans. Just a grandmother holding her grandson. She handed Lena a small envelope. Inside, a note. "I'm sorry, I forgot you are his mother first." Apologies didn't erase everything, but they created space for healing. That night, Lena stood by the nursery window. Elijah slept peacefully. Marcus wrapped his arms around her waist. "You were right," he whispered. "About what?" "Boundaries." "They're not walls," Lena said softly. "They're doors. We decide who gets the key." Outside, the winter air was less cold. Inside, the house felt warm. Not because everything was perfect, but because they had chosen each other. And sometimes, that choice is the christening that truly matters. Peace is fragile. Lena knew that now. For weeks after Dorothy's apology, things felt lighter. Not perfect, not fully healed, but manageable. Dorothy visited once a week, held Elijah gently, almost cautiously, as if afraid to break something delicate. Marcus seemed relieved. Lena wanted to be, too. But a part of her stayed guarded. Apologies soften wounds. They don't erase patterns. It happened on a Thursday. Lena scrolled through her phone while Elijah napped. A notification popped up: First Baptist Community Church, event page updated. Her stomach tightened. The post read: "Join us next Sunday for a special family blessing service. We're excited to welcome baby Elijah Carter into the arms of faith. All friends and loved ones are invited." The world went silent. 4 days away. Public. Again. And Dorothy's name hovered in every comment. Dorothy must be so proud. When Marcus came home, he immediately noticed her face. "What's wrong?" She handed him the phone. His jaw tightened. "I didn't know about this," he said. "She promised," Lena whispered. Marcus grabbed his keys. "I'm going over there." At the church, Dorothy barely looked up. "It's just a blessing service. You said you wouldn't do this again." "It's not a christening. Just a welcome," she insisted. Marcus's voice rose. "You agreed without asking us." Dorothy hardened. "I'm his grandmother. I have rights." "Rights," he repeated quietly. "You have privileges. And you're losing them." "I will protect my family." The words hung between them like a steel line. Back home, Lena paced. She wasn't angry anymore, just tired. Tired of defending herself, tired of being the difficult one. Sunday morning came quietly. No church. No announcements. Then, at 10:47 a.m., Lena's phone buzzed. A photo. Unknown number. Dorothy, holding a baby. Timestamp, live. Elijah stirred in his crib. But the sweater was white, Elijah's was blue. Marcus grabbed her shoulders. "What is it?" "She staged it," Lena whispered. Relief and fury collided. Marcus drove to the church. Most people had gone. Dorothy stood alone near the altar. "You lied," he said quietly. "I did what I had to," she said. "You used another baby. It was symbolic." "I was embarrassed." Embarrassed? Marcus repeated. Our name doesn't need protecting. It needs honesty. Dorothy's voice cracked. You don't understand, to lose control of everything you built, when you married Lena. I felt invisible. Marcus softened. And now you're invisible. That's okay. Tears slipped down her face. I don't know who I am if I'm not needed. You're still my mother, he said gently. But I must protect my own family. I already chose her. Dorothy's shoulders slumped. The fight left her. That evening, Marcus told Lena everything. She didn't feel victorious, just sad. I don't hate her, she admitted softly. I just need her to stop hurting us. Marcus nodded. She needs help. Not control. Days later, Dorothy came over. No church, no performance, just humility. I was wrong, she said simply. Not just about the blessing. About everything. I've been trying to stay important instead of staying loving. You are important, Lena said gently. But not in charge. Dorothy gave a small, tired smile. I'm starting to understand the difference. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't fully healed. But it was real. And real is stronger than image. That night, Lena stood by the nursery window. Marcus joined her. You think we'll ever stop standing here? He asked softly. Probably not, she smiled. Outside, church bells rang faintly, not as a command, not as pressure. Just sound. Life moving forward. Inside, a new kind of blessing began, through truth, through boundaries, through choosing each other. Winter was loosening its grip. Mornings felt softer. Light lingered longer. Even the air inside the house seemed easier to breathe. But peace, Lena had learned, was never permanent. It had to be practiced. Dorothy had been different lately. Quieter. Less forceful. When she visited, she asked before holding Elijah. She didn't mention church events. She didn't correct Lena's parenting choices. She was trying. Lena saw it. Marcus saw it too. For the first time, the three of them sat in the same room without tension filling the gaps between their words. But healing isn't a straight line. Sometimes it circles back. It happened on a Wednesday evening. Marcus was cooking. Lena guided Elijah's tiny hands towards stacking blocks. Her phone buzzed. A message from Amara. Have you seen what people are saying? Lena frowned. A link. A blog post. The headline hit her chest like a weight. Modern parents reject tradition, local family sparks debate in church community. It didn't name them. But it didn't need to. The story described a young couple refusing to baptize their child, disappointing devoted grandparents, abandoning spiritual responsibility for personal preference. Anonymous quotes felt familiar. Some people think they know better than generations of faith. Grandparents are being silenced in their own families. We're losing our values. Heat rose to Lena's face. Marcus, she whispered. He turned off the stove, read the article slowly. Who wrote this? A contributing member of the church community. Not Dorothy. But very close. By morning, the post had spread across local social media. Messages came in, supportive, judgmental, intrusive. Lena ignored them all. Each notification felt like someone knocking on her door without permission. Marcus returned early. I went to the church. And? They say it's just an opinion piece. Freedom of speech. Freedom to shame us? Lena muttered. He ran a hand over his face. I asked if Mom had anything to do with it. She said no. Do you believe her? I think she didn't write it. That's not what I asked. I think she talked, Marcus admitted. That hurt more than direct betrayal. Dorothy hadn't posted it, but she had fed the story. That evening, Dorothy arrived as planned. Her smile faded at the sight of their faces. "What's wrong?" Marcus handed her his phone. She read silently. Lips pressed together. "I didn't write this." "But you talked," Lena said quietly. Dorothy looked up sharply. "I was venting." "To who?" "A friend." "At church?" She didn't answer. Silence was enough. "I didn't think they'd publish anything," she said defensively. "I was just expressing how hurt I felt." "So you told them we rejected faith?" Marcus asked. "I told them I was worried." "And now we look like villains," Lena whispered. Dorothy's eyes flashed. "I am the one embarrassed." "And we're the ones judged publicly," Marcus shot back. The room felt smaller. Heavier. "You don't understand what this community means to me," Dorothy said. "And you don't understand what privacy means to us," Lena replied. She looked at Lena or really looked at her. Then something shifted. "I didn't think about how it would affect you," Dorothy admitted. "That's the problem," Lena said softly. "You keep thinking about how everything affects you." No argument this time. Silence. That night, Marcus and Lena lay awake. This silence was different, not distance, but pressure from outside. "I'm tired," Lena whispered. "Of what?" "Being discussed. Debated. Judged. Like we're a topic instead of a family." Marcus reached for her hand. "We can move," he said. "Leave the church?" "Leave the noise. Running isn't strength. Staying in a storm isn't either." "I don't want to spend Elijah's childhood defending our choices," Lena said. "Then maybe we don't." The next day, Marcus met Dorothy for coffee. Neutral ground. No church. No living room. Just strangers around them. "I never meant for this to get public," she said before he spoke. "But it did." She nodded. "I've been thinking why I hold on so tightly. When your father died, I lost control of everything. I promised myself I'd never feel powerless again." Marcus felt anger soften. "Control isn't safety." "No," she admitted. "It's fear." "I'm not losing you," Marcus said. "But you are losing control." A sad smile touched her lips. "I suppose that's the part one have to grieve." That Sunday, Lena posted something. Short. Clear. "We love our son. We respect faith. And we believe parenting decisions belong to parents. We ask for privacy and kindness as we raise our family with intention. No anger. No accusations. Just boundaries." The response surprised her. Support and understanding outweighed criticism. The loudest voices aren't always the majority. That evening, Dorothy returned. No defense, just humility. "I spoke to the church board," she said quietly. "I told them to remove the article. And? They apologized. It's down. I was wrong to discuss your decisions publicly." Silence. But it wasn't heavy. It was healing. "I'm learning," Dorothy said softly. "We're learning too," Lena replied. She watched Dorothy look at Elijah, babbling between them. "I don't want to be right," Dorothy said. "I want to be present." That mattered. More than winning. More than image. Presence. That night, Lena stood by the nursery window. Marcus joined her. "Do you think this is the last test?" he asked. "No," she said gently. "Families don't stop being tested. But maybe we're stronger now." "Yes," she leaned into him. Outside, spring arrived, not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. Inside, something stronger than tradition, pride, or public opinion was taking root: choice, unity, and love that had survived being tested. Spring was settling in. Light stretched across the living room floor. Elijah's laughter echoed, a sound that had become the measure of their home's heartbeat. Peace was no longer fragile. It was intentional. Marcus and Lena had learned boundaries. They had learned trust. They had learned that love wasn't about control, it was about presence. Dorothy arrived one afternoon. She knocked softly, almost hesitantly. "May I come in?" she asked. Lena nodded. Marcus offered a small smile. No announcements. No expectations. No past grievances. She entered carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers. "For Elijah," she said, placing them carefully on the table. Elijah babbled, reaching for her. She lifted him gently, keeping her hand steady. No overreaching. No assumptions. "I've been thinking," Dorothy said quietly, her voice softer than Lena had ever heard. "About everything, about me." Marcus listened. Lena watched. "I've spent so long defining myself by control," she admitted. By being the mother, the grandmother, the one who always had the answer. But I forgot the most important thing. Love isn't possession. Silence followed. Not awkward. Not tense. But reflective. "I want to be present," she continued. "To support you, to support this family, without trying to shape it into what I think is right." Lena's chest warmed. "That's all we've ever wanted," she said softly. Presence. Respect. Honesty. Dorothy looked at Marcus. He nodded. She smiled faintly, almost shyly. Weeks passed. Visits became natural. Not scheduled events, not performances, but shared afternoons. Laughter over small things. Stories about the past told gently, without pride or judgment. Marcus and Lena talked openly. They shared their worries, their dreams for Elijah, their failures, and their victories. Boundaries were no longer rules, they were trust, given freely, not demanded. One morning, Marcus came to Lena while she was feeding Elijah. "He's growing so fast," he said, awe in his voice. "It feels like yesterday he was this tiny." She smiled, brushing his hand over Elijah's head. "He's teaching us too," she said. "About patience. About love. About choosing our family every day." Dorothy joined them quietly. She sat on the couch, watching Elijah play. She didn't interfere. She didn't comment. She just smiled. And that smile said more than words ever could. The city outside continued its rhythm. Church bells rang faintly in the distance, reminders of tradition and expectation. But inside, the house was alive with choice. One evening, Lena stood by the nursery window. Marcus joined her. Elijah was asleep. The room was quiet, warm, and safe. "Do you think we'll ever stop testing each other?" Marcus asked softly. "Families don't stop being tested," Lena replied. "But maybe we'll keep passing." He smiled. "Maybe this is the family we choose." "Yes," she said. "Not the one dictated by pride, or fear, or image. But the one we decide to nurture. Every day. With love. With respect. With presence." The night settled softly around them. Outside, the spring air carried hints of new beginnings. Inside, the house held laughter, calm, and love that had been tested, and had endured. Elijah stirred, stretching tiny arms toward the window. Lena lifted him, smiling at Marcus. He caught her gaze and nodded. They were a family. Chosen, intentional, real. And that was enough. If this story found a place in your heart, let it change the way you love and choose. This was a true story on All Hub. Stay with us for more stories that speak to the heart.